Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jess, Lorimer, sales coach and leadership expert, and I am really excited to dig down into today's episode. Whoop whoop! We are almost at Valentine's Day. I'm like, how has this happened? And also, is anyone else over Valentine's Day? Like, I don't know. You might be single, you might be in a relationship, but if you're anything like me, you're kind of like, can I really be bothered to do this whole commercial thing? Or am I just being a Scrooge? Like, am I being that person who is kind of my boyfriend or my spouse is away, so I shouldn't have to see other people being happy about loving people? Is that how I am? Take a vote, like hit me up on Instagram and let me know, am I a Scrooge, or is Valentine's Day really getting a little bit over commercial and a little bit just tacky? So today we're not even talking about Valentine's Day. That's in our Wednesday 10-minute segment. I'm coming to you to talk to you all about the strategies that people are using to promote Valentine's Day and what you can do to leverage some of that cool success that, despite being overly commercialized, they will actually see. But today we're talking about email marketing and specifically sales emails. Okay, so one of the things I have spent a little bit of time doing over the last month is decluttering my inbox. Now, I meant to do this in 2018 and just completely forgot, but it turns out over the last, I don't know, I maybe haven't decluttered my inbox for about 8 or 9 months. And so it turns out that in that relatively short space of time, I have subscribed somehow to an awful lot of things. And I don't know where a lot of these subscriptions are coming from. I'm actually sneakily suspicious that someone out there who doesn't like me very much is just putting my name on random lists. And if that's you, please stop, because it's working. It's really frustrating. But anyway, I've been going through some of these emails. I've been in my inbox trying to figure out, whose lists do I want to stay on? Who am I getting value from, etc., etc. And I've been pretty underwhelmed by some of the emails that I'm just seeing, particularly sales emails. So I'm somebody who writes consistently 4 emails a week. Now, we all know that I batch this content. So, I'm not sat there every Monday morning at 9:30 writing an email for my Dotties. I'm not sat there every Wednesday afternoon writing an email for anybody on my newsletter list. But consistently, I put out 4 good pieces of email content every single week. And that doesn't take into account sales emails. When I'm running a launch, I run typically a 7-day cart open period if I'm running a live launch or an automated launch. And I'll send 1 email every single day, plus 2 emails on the day that the early bird price finishes, and 3 emails on the day that the actual launch itself finishes. And I'm going to be talking about this later, by the way, but we'll break down exactly what I do and why. But I'm getting a bit underwhelmed by some of the content that I'm seeing out there, because some sales emails are literally, buy my stuff, buy my things so I can make bank. Please buy this because my mortgage requires a payment this month. And it feels very bland and it feels very desperate. And actually, some sales emails have left me cold. When I've seen sales emails that have promoted a new product or service, and they've been like, if you don't buy this, clearly you just have no interest in investing in yourself and your business will fail. I'm like, oh, seriously, ice queen moment. And so I thought that today it might be interesting to actually go through what good sales email marketing looks like and some of the prompts that I use to get inspired, because it's not easy to write sales emails all the time. It's not easy to be inspired, especially if you're worried enough about launches, if you've got other things going on. Sometimes it can be really difficult to sit there and look at that blank page and think, why are you mocking me? I just want one good idea so that one person buys, right? So that's what we're going to cover off today. So the first thing we need to think about, obviously, is batching. It really does help. And I have a whole episode, link is in the show notes for you, all about planning and batching content. It really will help you if you are going through big launches, if you are running live launches particularly. Having your sales emails batched and ready to go so that you don't have to write them on the day when you're already stressed enough about Facebook Live you've got to do, or the webinar that you've got to hold, or whatever is going on, is going to make your life easier, and it's going to make your content an awful lot better. Okay, so try not to write emails off the cuff. It really is more difficult than it sounds, and you end up with these really weird, incongruent emails, you know, so you'll have one that perhaps promotes the product or service really well, and then the next one is a day where you're clearly tired, it's near the end of your launch, and you just can't be bothered anymore. And it comes across in your email marketing as, just buy the thing, for the love of God, I don't care anymore. And you get this like feeling from the copy where you're like, oh, wow, either that's not going as well as expected, or they are writing it live and they're super stressed, and that doesn't inspire people to buy. So if you're looking at the blank page and you are doing it in advance, some of the best prompts that you can use to spark interesting sales emails that actually sell and deliver value, which is what we want to aim for, are as follows. I'm going to go through them, and then we're going to talk about why they should be written that way. Okay, so some of the best ones are looking at their fears. What are they scared of? What is your audience scared will happen if they do buy your product or service? What are they scared of will happen if they don't buy it? And the reality, what should they be scared of? If they don't buy it from you, will they end up buying it from somebody else who's underqualified? If they don't buy it from you, will they really be making the changes that they need to see the transformation they're looking for? If they do buy it, you know, what should they rightfully be scared of? Hard work, you know, accountability, risk of, you know, having to put in extra hours. What are the things that they might be scared of that are stopping them from purchasing? And, you know, writing an email that helps to alleviate their fears will make it a lot easier to sell. Now, we see this done sometimes really well. So sometimes people will take the time to really alleviate fears, and, you know, they'll write about, okay, well, you know, if you invest in this now, yes, it's going to cost you this money, but the great news is, you know, over the course of your business life, it will actually help you produce a return on investment every month, every week, every quarter, every year, etc., etc. And so they help to alleviate the fears. When done badly, it's kind of like the example from earlier. If you don't buy this, your business will fail and you will suck. And actually that doesn't alleviate anybody's fears, and it doesn't endear them to you. So, you know, if you're using the fears prompt, you've got to alleviate the fear in the email. All right. There's no point in sending out an email that just pokes the bear, right? There's no point in sending out an email that just tells them more about the fear they already have. You've actually got to help them alleviate it and overcome it, so that they can make the informed choice. Do I want to buy this? You know, is buying it going to help me alleviate my fears? Or is not buying it going to help me alleviate my fears? Because sometimes people worry, oh my goodness, if I don't buy, everyone else will buy it and they'll get great results and I won't. But if it's not the right fit for them, they shouldn't buy it, because then they'll have bought it and not get the right results that they wanted. Okay, so, you know, your email, if you're talking about fears, has to be ultimately about helping them alleviate or overcome them. The second prompt that I always look at when I'm writing sales emails is, we always go with opposites, is desires. What could life look like if they made a change? What would their life or their business or their health or their relationships look like if they bought the program? What are their key goals? What are they working towards? And does this program tie into that? You know, you can always make a list of, if you are somebody who's looking to be able to inject cash into your business whenever you want, if you're somebody who's looking to be able to make money instantaneously, even if your audience are really small, if you are somebody who's looking to improve upon their sales skills so you can use them all the time, great news, cash creation is for you, right? It shows them their desires, it shows them what is possible. It also can be used, you can also use desires the opposite way and talk about, it is not for you if, right? So we're not just talking about if you want to wake up on a Monday morning in a year's time and have the business of your dreams, etc., etc., etc. We can also use desires to weed out the wrong people from our programs. Okay, so if you are somebody who doesn't want to put in the work, who doesn't want to learn how to sell actively, and instead you want like a passive, you dream of passive income, cash creation is not for you. Okay, it's as simple as that. So make sure that if you're thinking about desires emails, you're talking to the goal they actually want to achieve, how they will feel when they achieve it, what life will look like when it happens. And your program is kind of, or your program or service or product is kind of an afterthought, right? It feels like an afterthought in the email because your focus is on their desires, their goals. And your program is merely, you know, this could be the vehicle that will help you get there if you want these things, or if you want to work in this way, or if you have these specific thoughts or goals. Okay. The third one is FAQs. So everyone has questions, but nobody ever wants to ask. Like, nobody wants to be the person in the Facebook group or on the webinar who says, yeah, but is it right for me if, or when will the calls be? Or when will the price actually go up? Or da, da, da. Nobody wants to ask those questions because it draws attention to themselves publicly. And people don't always like that. So if you can have a really good FAQs email where you put in, and it might feel like basics to you, but if you tell people the live calls are going to be at this time and this time, this is our refund policy. This is what happens if you buy it and you don't do the work. We're probably not going to give you your money back. This is what you can expect from me as a group leader or mentor. This is, when the information is going to be released. I bought a course probably 2 years ago now, where I bought the course thinking that you got it all at once, but it turns out it was dripped over like 6 months. And that was really frustrating for me. And it actually meant that I went back to them and I said, hey, look, I was hoping to use one of the penultimate modules right now, and I've paid in full and I would love to access that module right now. And they went, oh no, we can't do that. And so I ended up getting a refund because I was like, well, in 6 months time, I'm not going to have the immediate need anymore. So I got my refund and I went elsewhere. So a really good FAQs email can help you just let people know what are their expectations, what should their expectations be about buying your product, program, or service, but also help you weed out the wrong people, help you attract the right people, and help you just, sometimes people just need a little bit of reassurance about the fact that they're making the right decision, that they can make time in their diary for this, that they can make the live calls, that they can, attend the face-to-face event pieces and things like that. Those things are important. So don't just rely on having them on the sales page. You can send out a good FAQs email that gives them that information. You'll find that you convert a lot more people. Another one that you can use is case studies or breakthrough moments, right? So not a case study that says, hey, so-and-so bought this course and, they had this amazing time and they made tons of money or they got super fit, so you should buy it too. Because we all know that, unfortunately, it doesn't always look like that, right? Journeys have twists and turns. But if you can give the story of a real person who navigated successfully your course, your program, your service, and you talk genuinely about the highs, about the lows, about the breakthrough moments, and about what they achieved, you're going to find that A, it's more real and therefore attracts more people and, helps them to make the buying decision. But B, that people start realizing you are not just a salesperson, right? You're not just trying to sell them something because you want the money. You are genuine about the experience they're going to have. And that's going to help them trust you more, which is, again, going to increase their ability to buy from you. Random emails. Okay, so I get really good open rates on some really kooky things. And I've had really good sales rates on some really just random things that I wanted to do at the time. One of the best examples for me was when GDPR came in. Everybody sent out these emails to their lists that were like, oh, GDPR is here. Just wondering whether I can keep you on my list and keep marketing to you. And I didn't really want to do that because it was very boring. I understood the whole legality behind GDPR and I understood the importance of it, but I wanted to sell people on staying on my list. And sending them a really boring generic email was not going to help with that. So I wrote a rap. And I wrote a GDPR rap along to the theme tune of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I'm not going to rap it for you now, don't worry. But I wrote this rap and it was so popular. And even though it wasn't selling a program or a product, actually it got so many responses. And then a whole bunch of people went and bought the GDPR pack that I'm an affiliate for. Links in the show notes. If you want to get GDPR'd up, then have my affiliate link. It's over to Suzanne Dibble's GDPR pack. She's amazing. But yeah, we kind of got all these email responses and then all these sales of the GDPR pack because people were like, it was hilarious that you wrote a rap. So don't be afraid to be a little bit out there, right? I get great open rates if I title my emails with like a film title or a song title because people know that I'm interested in mainstream media and they like seeing how I'm going to tie it in. I get really good sales rates from emails that are unexpected. Equally, I've also had emails that have been unexpected and polarized my audience massively. So a few years ago, I wrote an email from their future self. So when it appeared in their inbox, it said from, your name in 2016 or whatever it was. Unfortunately, I actually sent it accidentally on Halloween. So it was a lot creepier than I'd imagined. There's something to be said with batch creating your content with the dates on it so that you don't make any mistakes like that. That's something I've learned from. But it really polarized my audience. We got a big response from it. And again, we got a lot of sales from it because it played into A, being unexpected and a bit random, but B, that desires and fears piece. We used them in the same email. So we looked at, your life could look like this a year on, or you could have made different choices and it could look like this instead. It was kind of a little bit like A Christmas Carol, but on Halloween and in an email, and a little bit creepy. According to a few people, there was a very small percentage of people who thought it was creepy. Most people emailed back and were like, oh my goodness, how did you do that? That's so much fun. But yeah, so random can work. It can work really well in your favor for sales emails, especially if it is something different. Because if it is something different, like a rap or like an email from your future self, people share it around. They tell other people, they're like, oh my goodness, this person wrote this. It's so different from the normal stuff going around the internet. And that can actually help you pick up traction and gain market share where you weren't expecting to. And then finally, story. Now, story is hugely important. And in actual fact, it's a bit of a difficult one because the majority of these prompts involve you using the ability to tell a story. But it's something we don't focus on all that often. Most people, when they're writing their sales emails, they talk about them all the time. And with the best will in the world, when we're selling, it's not about us. It's about the person reading it. It's about the potential buyer. And so actually, when they constantly hear, I made 62 million using XYZ, or I found my perfect husband in less than 3 weeks, even though I've got weirdly big feet, I don't know. It can be a little bit disconcerting for the reader because they're only ever hearing about you. Whilst it's not a bad thing for them to get to know you, it can be a lot of facts and it can feel like a lot of facts because they're only relating it to you. Whereas if you have a story, and you could literally use anything. You don't have to use client case studies. You don't have to use examples in your industry. You can create and craft a story that sticks in people's minds much, much more easily than creating an email that sells and does okay, but is effectively just, you using it as your journal. Because that's not what sells. People buy into you, but they don't want it to be all about you. Okay. And that's where story can save you. So for example, if I was looking to, sell a dating program, I might not, for example, talk about Sandra and Paul who got together on name the website here and have lasted for years and years and are married, because everyone knows that, even the worst of dating sites has some couples that make it. I met my boyfriend on Plenty of Fish and that gets a terrible rap. But if I was in the relationship space, instead of writing a boring old email about Sandra and Paul and their experience on whatever, maybe I'd write about swans. And I tell a story about swans because swans actually mate for life. Now, I'm not a massive fan of birds. Okay, so ornithologically, I don't know tons about them, but they mate for life. And so do robins, incidentally. I like robins. So I might write a story about swans. And I might write a story about how they choose their life partners and how they know that that particular swan is going to be their buddy for life. And then I might tie my program into that and say, well, you know what? If you're looking for your Mr. Swan or your Mrs. Swan or your whoever, that's why you should join my program. Because instead of ending up with a goose, you're going to end up with the right person for you. Yeah? And it's story-based and it's interesting and it's a little bit different from the norm. And that's more likely to hold their attention than me banging on about how I met my boyfriend on Plenty of Fish, so you can too. They all have their place, but you've got to use them in conjunction with each other. You can't just use the same thing all of the time. You can't just have 10 case studies and expect people to buy from your emails. You can't just have, 4 emails about their fears and addressing one at a time. You've got to mix it up to make it interesting. Because the thing about sales emails is that a lot of people think they are only designed to sell. And yes, that is their primary purpose, but they're also designed to give value and to build your relationship with your audience, because some people might not be ready for that product, program, or service at that time. And so they will want to unsubscribe. right? But if your sales emails are interesting and they give value, they're actually less likely to unsubscribe, and they're actually more likely to change their mind about joining that product, program, or service after all. Because you are creating a better relationship with them, you're giving them value, you're demonstrating it. And even if they don't buy, they're less likely to unsubscribe from your list entirely, and they're more likely to be understanding of the times when you do actually send out multiple emails in a day, or you do have a big launch. Okay, so sales emails are not just designed to sell your stuff. It's not a selfish exercise. It's not about you effectively going to your audience and saying, well, I've given you some value, so now pay me. That's really not the right way to look at it. Your sales emails are about you opening up a conversation and helping them think differently and make the best and most informed decision they can, whether that's to buy or not to buy, without you having to get on the phone. Okay, that's what they're designed for. Now, the other things that you want to take into account when you're writing sales emails, obviously they've got to be valuable, because we don't want people to just continuously unsubscribe. And we do want to retain people on that list for as long as possible so that we can sell more often to them. But there are going to be some cases where that offer just is not right for them and people don't want to buy it. So make sure you always have the ability for that person to unsubscribe just from those launch emails. It makes a massive difference. Some people, it's just not the right time, it's not the right offer, and they don't want to unsubscribe from your list entirely. But if you don't give them the option to do anything else, they will. And then you're going to have to pay for them in some other way, time, money, or advertising, to get them back on the list later. Okay, so give them the opportunity to unsubscribe from a particular launch list. Now, one of the other big questions that I get a lot is, how many emails should I send? And as I mentioned right at the beginning, I'm really upfront about my launches. When it comes to launch time, people get at least 8 emails, at least, from me over a 7-day period, right? So on the day that the cart opens, I send 1 email, and I send 1 email per day for the entirety of the launch. Okay. On the day that the early bird finishes, I always send 2 emails. So I send 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening to remind people this is your last chance to get something at this price. When it goes up to full price, they get back to 1 email a day. And on the final day of the launch, on day 7, they get 3 emails, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and 1 in the evening. Now, some people don't like being emailed that often, and that's, it's by the by. What I can tell you though is that percentage of my list that unsubscribe during a launch with the reason you've sent me too many emails is literally, out of entire lists, 1 to 2 people per launch. We have people unsubscribe for other reasons. We have people unsubscribe because it's not the right offer, it's not the right time, because they're busy, because they want to hear about something else that I've got going on, all that kind of thing. But in terms of people saying you send too many emails, literally 1 to 2 every single launch. Now, the more you send out, if you were sending out 3 emails a day for 7 days, you get a lot of people unsubscribing saying that's too many emails. But generally, if you're doing a launch, if it's for a defined period of time, if you are congruent with your content beforehand, if your audience knows that you are launching and you give them the ability to unsubscribe from that particular launch, you will find that the number is very low. So you actually can send more emails than you probably think. So what I see a lot of is people who they'll email 2 or 3 times throughout the week that their launch is going on. So if their launch starts on a Monday, if their cart opens on a Monday, they'll email on the Monday, then on the Wednesday, then on the Friday, and then they'll go, oh my goodness, I didn't get the amount of buyers I wanted. Well, you didn't email often enough. You didn't create enough urgency. You didn't deliver value during the sales process. So actually, it was only the people who were you're kind of like diehard fans that were able to buy and able to be converted. So don't be afraid to email more than once. Don't be afraid to have a couple of days of your launch where you do send out more than 1 email. You're not going to get lynch mobbed in the street. And if it delivers value, if it goes off the back of some of these prompts, you're going to find that it's going to be interesting and valuable to your audience. So they're much more likely to want to see more of it in their inbox. I hope you have had an epic morning or afternoon starting your day with the podcast. As always, I appreciate your ears. I appreciate you being here. And I really appreciate the fact that we just did the cash creation launch and that some of you will have received a whole bunch of emails from me. So thank you very much. If you did stay on the list, you will be back to normal service this week. We've got some epic value coming up and we have an extra special guest on the podcast on Friday as well. I'll see you in the next episode.